Good morning, students. So today we start our new chapter, which is air and noise pollution, right? So first of all, starting with the air pollution. So the air pollution is defined as the presence of unwanted and undesirable foreign particles and gases in the air, which may have adverse effects on the human beings, animals, plants, vegetation, and important structures, right? So, what are the pollutants? So, any substance present in the environment in harmful concentration which adversely alter the environment by damaging the growth rate of species and by the interfering with the food chain is a toxic and affect the health, comfort, and the property, etc., is considered as a pollutant. So there are some composition of air. So the chemical composition of air, there are various composition, right? So starting with the nitrogen, the symbol of nitrogen described as N2 and by volume is 78%, right? So there are different chemical composition like oxygen, argon, right? Carbon dioxide, neon, methane, helium, krypton, hydrogen, and xenon, right? So these all are the chemical composition of air, and which is described in such a symbol and described in percentage by volume. So there are one name here, NAAQS. The full form of this short form is National Ambient Air Quality Standards, right? So here different types of pollutants given and also described with this time weighted average and the concentrated in emission air, right? So in industrial area, residential or rural area or sensitive area, right? So this for sulfur dioxide annual average for industrial area is 18 mg divided by meter cube. So there are different types of pollutants with its given time weightage average and depends on the area. Its a concentration is given in certain criteria, right? Like sulfur dioxide, which is SO2, oxide of nitrogen as NO2, suspended particulate matters, which is known as SPM, uh, respirable particulate matter, which is in size less than 10 uh, micro m, right, which is also written as RPM, lead, it described in a PB, carbon monoxide CO, and ammonia NH3, right? So all these pollutants given with its time weightage average and depends on the area concentration in air is different. So go on further. Classification of air pollutants. So air pollutants has classified into three types. So based on origin, based on state of matter, and based on presence in environment. So based on origin, there are also two parts, which is primary air pollutant and second is secondary air pollutant. And based on the state of matter, it's divided by two types, which is the gaseous air pollutants and particulate air pollutants. And third is based on presence in environment has also two parts, which is indoor air pollutants and second is outdoor air pollutants. So these all are the classification of air pollutants, which has basically three types and also subdivided into different parts. So according to origin, it is divided into two parts. First is the primary pollutant, second is the secondary pollutant. So what is the meaning of primary pollutants? So primary pollutants are those which are directly emitted from the identifiable identifiable sources, right? So these pollutants are emitted directly to the atmosphere, right? First one is a particulate matter, second is oxide of sulfur, third is oxide of nitrogen, fourth one is a carbon monoxide, and last one is a radioactive compound. So these all are the primary pollutants which are directly emitted from the sources. Now talking about secondary air pollutants. So these pollutants are those which are produced in the air by the reaction of two or more primary pollutants such as ozone, formaldehyde, photochemical smoke, PAN, which is also full form of peroxyacetyl nitrate, right? So these all are the secondary air pollutants which are produced generally in the air by the reaction of two or more primary pollutants. Second classification is based on the states of matter, right? It has two parts, which is first one is a gaseous air pollutant and second one is the particulate air pollutants. So in a gaseous air pollutants are those pollutants which are found in the gaseous state at a normal temperature and pressure in the atmosphere. So most common gaseous air pollutants are carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, nitrogen oxides, sulfur oxides, and hydrocarbon, etc. So these all are the gaseous air pollutants uh, which is found in a gaseous state at the normal temperature and the pressure in the atmosphere. Next is particulate air pollutants. So this type of air pollutants may be liquid or solid. So the particulate matters are identified as aggregates which are larger than 0.002 mu but smaller than 500 mu, right? So starting with the first one, which is dust, which is between 1 to 10,000 mu, right? So the small solid particles resulting from breakup of large masses through processes such as crushing, grinding, and blasting, right? So dust is generally produced by crushing, grinding, and blasting of certain large masses material, right? Next is a smoke, which is between zero point 0.5 to 1, right? So it consists of finely divided solid particles, which is produced by incomplete combustion of organic particles, such as coal, wood, or tobacco. Talking about mist, the value of mist is between zero point 0.1 to 10 micrometer, right? So these are the liquid particles formed by condensations of vapor. Next is fog. It's between 1 to 40 mu. So the high concentration of mist is called as a fog. So it is dispersion of liquid particles in the air. Next is a fumes, which is between 0.03 to zero point 0.3 micro, right? So the fine solid particles formed by the condensations of vapor of solid materials. So the fumes are generally emit from the melting operations. Next is ash, which is between 1 to 1000 micro. So the fine and non-combustible particles are known as a fly ash. Next is a spray, which is between 10 to 1000 micro. Liquid particles formed by automation. So the particulate air pollutants include dust, smoke, mist, fog, fumes, ash, spray. Right? So these all are the uh, larger than 0.002 micro and but the smaller of 500 micro, right? Either it may be liquid or solid. Now next is a classification based on presence in environment. So it has two types. First is indoor air pollutants and second one is outdoor air pollutants. So in indoor air pollutants, these are basically generated from the household, right? So it is called known as an indoor air pollutant. For the example is the cleaning agents, mosquito repellents, pesticides, cigarette smoke, gases from the stoves, etc. So these are basically generated from the inside of the house, right? So it therefore is known as an indoor air pollutants. Now talking about outdoor air pollutants. So these pollutants is generally generated outside of the building. It's called outdoor air pollutants, right? Such as automobile pollutants, industrial pollutants, mining pollutants, and natural emissions from decaying matter and animal, etc. Right? So what are the basic sources of air pollution? So the sources of air pollution may be classified into two groups. First one is from the natural sources and second is from man-made sources. So there are different forms of natural sources, which is atmospheric reaction, volcanic eruptions, forest fires, dust storms, electric storms, salt spray from the oceans, microorganisms, radioactive substances, etc. Right? And man-made sources are combustions of fuel, automobile exhaust, industries, thermal and nuclear power plant, agricultural activities, construction materials, system of sanitation, mining, nuclear explosion, aircraft, wastewater treatment plants, etc. Right? So this all are the classification of air pollutants, right? Which is basically divided into three parts and also divided in, and also subdivided into two parts, right?